plural. More like,
all right, here we are. Stokastic, what's going on? It's your old pal EMac reunited, and it feels so good with a fellow Eric. It is Team Eric tonight. It is EMac and Mr. Eric Lindquist. I've got a little issue with your Iowa State Cyclones.
oh no.
They lost yesterday.
Sure
Blew
did.
up my parlay where I
Sorry.
was playing a bunch of favorites in college basketball. I added them so I could get an increased bonus. I believe they were like minus 300 or minus 500, and they lost 60-51 at home, if I remember correctly.
Oops.
What's that all about?
Duke won. That was cool.
That's not who I played, though.
Well, that's too bad for you. I'm just saying my other team, the one my dog is named after, they won. So should have bet on them instead.
Well, coulda, woulda, shoulda. That's all right. I'm still basking in the glow of a $4,100 profit on
Hey,
Friday
congratulations, my dude, on Yahoo too. Yeah,
on
just
Yahoo.
over there, just out there smothering people on Yahoo, bringing great pride to the name Eric. Well done.
Absolutely. Well, and the fun thing is people, I play Yahoo on every day, and we used to feature Yahoo in the DFS building blocks article, but then Yahoo kind of lied to us about what they were doing with our links, and they were actively redirecting them away from us. True story. But I still play over there, and the article, though it doesn't mention them, is actually geared towards them. I'm going to drop that link into the chat. That is free every single day on the front page of the Stokastic.com homepage, and I break down the best play, call it core building blocks. So today it's going to be Anthony Edwards, not in honor of you, Eric, but it is Anthony Edwards. And I've had to revamp this column over the years. I try to put in some teaching moments, some explanations, things, how to use the boom bust tool, but NBA has gone off the deep end over the last 3 seasons. So now I kind of write up the nebulous situations and what to do, similar to what we have today. So we got plenty to talk about here. We also are brought to you by Sorare. We're going to stay on for an extra 30 minutes talking about their site and product. I am very intrigued by this. And of course, we are launching a brand new Odd Shopper betting show. This is debuting at 4 o'clock Eastern tomorrow. So if you're into betting, and we all should be, you can join Lothy, Ben, Greg, Eric, Eitan, and all the usuals as they break down that night's best bets using the premium Odd Shoppers tools and data. That's going to be Monday through Friday, 4 o'clock, leading into the deeper dive and live before lock. You're still getting all that. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a good time. I'm looking forward to seeing you on that show. I already watched Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks.
Mm-hmm.
That's staying, right? You're keeping that.
Oh yeah, that trust me, that's not going anywhere.
Number one overnight video in the DFS space. Congratulations.
It is, which is weird to say. Well, also betting space, which is wild stuff.
All righty. Well,
what,
let's jump on in here.
Remember when you used to produce for me in evenings, Jordan Klein, and then you were so lazy that you don't anymore? That's cool. What's it like being the laziest producer that I've ever met in my entire life? Just playing Hogwarts Legacy like it's his job, but it's not.
It's good times.
Whatever.
It's good times. I see Spencer Smith says I should substitute my coffee for a nice prime drink. I don't know what a prime drink is. I don't drink sodas anymore. I'm done. It's been about 2 years now. I used to have.
I need a prime that's top of the line. Cute.
I used to have about 7 a day.
Oh, okay.
And I don't even have one a month.
What's wrong with you as a person? Oh my God.
When I get into something, I've become dedicated.
I noticed
addictions, but there we are. All righty. Well, let's dive in here. We've got 4 really intriguing games, and then we've got our first one here. We've got games spread out over 4 from 6 o'clock until 10 o'clock. So 5 games, 5 different start times going over 4 hours. This will be a fun one. Toronto is, when I took these notes a half hour ago, they were 7.5 point favorites. Let me call up the actual page. That should be about where they are as well. They are going into Cleveland, taking on the Cavs. You've got Fred VanVleet is away from the team, dealing with a personal matter. This will be the 3rd game that he has missed. Cleveland, mostly healthy. They jettisoned Kevin Love during the buyouts there, but we've got an otherwise robust lineup. This game has a 218 and a half now implied point total. That's about 20 lower than the key games we want to target tonight, and it's about 12-15 lower than anything else on the slate. I'm actually going to skip this game tonight for my contest since we are on air, and I can buy myself an extra hour. Eric, I don't recommend that for everybody, but I'm not really seeing a lot of players popping, and there's so much value in the other games. That's where I want to land.
Yeah, let's talk an overview of the slate then first, because like for me, there are two really unappealing games, that being Toronto, Cleveland, Clippers, Denver. Outside of pieces, like we obviously have the Jokic piece, we have things we want to get to from the other games, but for me, the entire slate revolves around Rudy Gobert. It's definitely the most important piece of pending news, because I'm just going to play 100% not as Reed. And, anything that you play in Toronto, Cleveland, that's going to stop you from getting access to pretty much everything on the Minnesota side. I want to have access to every single thing on the Minnesota side for sure. OG Anunoby, we saw him re-enter the lineup. We just got that starting lineup. It's exactly what you would expect. Barnes, Trent, Anunoby, Siakam, and Poeltl. We saw a ton of minutes right out of the gate for OG, 32 and then 39 minutes. So he's by far the most intriguing because of the shooting guard small forward eligibility on the Toronto side. But this is the most difficult matchup you can run into in the NBA. Number one defensive rated team, actually number two right now behind Memphis. It's a phenomenal defensive unit headlined by Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. But I still do want to get to a little bit of Jakob Poeltl. He's been too good. He's playing so many minutes now. He had more of a condensed role in San Antonio as they were waiting to exercise their options with him. He only had to play 27 minutes going down towards the end of that last game. But I expect, as long as he continues to be in the starting lineup, which there's no reason to expect he won't be for the long term, that he's going to be a really serviceable piece who's playing 30 minutes a night there.
All right. We'll get to these super chats and some of the member chats. So we'll talk about that. Not to fear, I've got those flagged. Some other things that we do want to talk about if we're looking at the overarching slate. Let's throw it out there right now. Chimezie Metu on FanDuel is $410 because reasons, or I don't know, talking points for DFS touts throughout the land, but we have to deal with that. They do have several good power forwards, but that is someone I have no interest at all on FanDuel, or probably on DraftKings or Yahoo, where I am also playing tonight. But he's probably going to be in 90, if not 100% of my lineups on FanDuel. That means no Jakob Poeltl, no Nikola Jokic, no Alperen Şengün, right? We can get the Portland guys at power forward. We got, I believe, Sabonis is still power forward over there. So your lineups are going to be looking stacked, but you have you're waving off 8 other, or what would it be, 9 other starting centers by doing that.
Yeah, it's a tough kind of thing to weigh out the cost benefit analysis of it, but I mean, you're basically, it's a lineup spot. You have to think about it that way too. I mean, if he doesn't go out and play serviceably, it's an issue, but he's still carrying a 32% optimal percentage. And I don't know, maybe people get intrigued by seeing the thing and click it a little bit too much, but we were talking a little bit about it before the show. I still think he's going to show up about optimal 50% of the time. It's tough to get away from. Indeed.
So, back to our game at hand here, with aside from VanVleet, with everybody mostly healthy here. Anybody else standing out for you? We're now going to be considering some of these players like direct pivots away from perhaps a Damian Lillard. We've already mentioned the center options there. Some wings could slide in here. If you had to highlight a few of the players, is there anybody in your rosters that would be more than 10%?
OG Anunoby. I have more than 10% of him. I like Jakob Poeltl. I like Gary Trent. It's hard to get to Siakam here too. I'm also, when you're paying over 10K for somebody, I mean, there's obviously ceiling there, but it's going to be so hard for him to hit double-digit rebounds when you start playing alongside bigs. I mean, we've seen him play alongside, Precious Achiuwa back in the day, and now Jakob Poeltl. That's a bigger rebound rate to just have showing up. So for me, that's just a guy that overall, OG Anunoby, Gary Trent, both of them make some sense. But Pascal Siakam, just really, really hard for me to land on. Scotty Barnes is up to 8K. I'd be shocked if I got to any whatsoever there. The only real intriguing guys to talk about, but for DraftKings purposes, it's got to be OG Anunoby top. I definitely have north of 10% there.
All right. Anybody as you slide on over to the Cavs that begins to stand out for you?
So on the Cavs side, I think it's actually the more intriguing team to have as like a lineup filler. We know Donovan Mitchell, the kind of ceiling he has. We have Point guard, shooting guard eligibility, it's not as important today. We have a lot of pieces on the OKC side that kind of fill that out. But we know the ceiling Donovan Mitchell has. It's been a little bit flat of late, but these are the times that you want to be invested when, it could very easily be a 50-60 burger from him, but hard to prioritize in any way, shape, or form. Darius Garland, by far the most intriguing. He's still under 8K for me. Jared Allen, I prefer Jakob Poeltl on the other side of this one. I don't know what to make of some of these minutes that we've seen of him of late, 30 and 29. I think that was because it was on a back-to-back that they probably just looked to limit his minutes there. But Cleveland's still sitting at a good spot in the East. I don't think they're in panic mode by any means. I don't think they need to play Jared Allen 38 type minutes here going forward. We have him projected around 34. I think that's right, considering it's not on a back-to-back for them. But for cheaper, I'll just take Jakob Poeltl straight up.
All right. Anything else on this one, or shall we dive into the crux, the meat of the sandwich, if you will, of the next three games?
Yeah, this is definitely the meat of it. I mean, we're going to get Jokic, and, you can kind of move on with that entire last game, but the slate is these three games.
All right. So key things I want to hit on just a second. So Ace of Spade asked about tiers, and then Larry C also asked about potential groups. So we'll hit on that groups question as we break through these teams. He particularly asked for Oklahoma City as well as Houston. I have updated the tiers, so I'm going to walk through those real quick. This is over on DraftKings. A couple of people in our Discord, because you users and viewers have been asking so many questions about that. We're getting a lot of questions in chat. This is a format I used to play a lot over there on DraftKings. I had to cut out a few things in my day because now sports wagering and a bunch of other fun things are taking up some time. But essentially the concept is you pick one player. There's no salary per tier. There are 6 in the NBA. There are 8 in MLB. There are 8 in NHL. I play the NHL, and there are 8 in NFL. What you can do is a little bit of correlation. You really want to do that for NHL and for MLB, meaning stacking. You can do it to a lesser extent, more like team stacks or probably game stacks a little bit in the tiers. I wouldn't force it too much because a lot of times you're going to be getting players that really do stand out from others. It doesn't seem to come to fruition as often as standard, or as it would stacking that is in the regular games, because you're not getting the right players and the consequences of salary don't help you out elsewhere. So you can more or less just kind of pick and choose from the best plays. Tier 1 tonight, Nikola Jokic, Damian Lillard, Kawhi Leonard. I would definitely go with Damian Lillard here. That's something we don't normally say. We actually have him essentially tied with the projection for Jokic. They're both around 60 DraftKings points. Jokic played last night. The whole Denver team sat after 4 minutes into the third quarter. They were, or with 4 minutes left in the third quarter, they were benched en masse and just took it easy for the rest of the game. So Jokic shouldn't be overly tired, but it is a back-to-back, and there is a little bit more defense coming from the Clippers. I would also wave off Kawhi Leonard in that standpoint. So I would go 100% Damian Lillard there. The next tier, we have Domantas Sabonis standing out with Anthony Edwards. The other two are Pascal Siakam and Donovan Mitchell. I would not play those two. I would probably lean towards Sabonis because there is no salary positional constraints here, but Anthony Edwards is one of my top 3 owned players on regular DFS. So I think that's kind of a coin flip. They're separated by 1 point. Moving on to the next tier, we're still waiting to hear what's going to happen with Jamal Murray. This tier is very condensed. You could kind of go any direction. I would probably myself lean towards De'Aaron Fox in this one, but I think Jordan Poole and Klay Thompson do have merit if you're looking for some differentiation. This will be a 3 and 4 for Sacramento. They did play in that double overtime game on Friday, and so they've seen relatively significant minutes, or at least Fox has played 45 in that game. So keep that in mind. That's enough to have me just split the hairs there. Same thing on tier 4. The same thing being it's very condensed. I'd probably lean towards Şengün. He is at the top. He does have a good matchup against no Yusuf Nurkic there in Portland. I liked Rudy Gobert until he got the midday downgrade. Illness. So frustrating, Eric. So frustrating. Rounding out tier 5, it's an easy slam dunk with Josh Giddey. And 6, you may like Jakob Poeltl. I'm okay with Jabari Smith, but the real winner, I believe, is Jalen Williams. That would be Jalen, Jalen Williams, who has been coming on strong with the scoring. That's where I'd lean in tier 6.
I mean, do we just end the show now? That was a lot. That was a lot, EMac.
They're calling this out. Now we're going to let you talk.
Oh, okay.
the rest of the show.
That was fantastic. Nobody
We're moving
called it
back to
out.
the Sacramento Kings.
Oh, there we are. Okay.
3-4, third
That was
best
the most
record in the
in-depth
Western
analysis
Conference.
of tiers or a super chat that has ever existed in the history of civilization.
Just want to show Greg how to do it when he's not here.
Yeah, well, there you go. So Sacramento's pretty clear cut. I don't think that they're the intriguing one of this game. Obviously, on the road here, nice spread. You know, it's going to be a close basketball game. I think that makes the OKC side really intriguing, but you're going for Sabonis and Fox for the ceilings. We saw what Malik Monk can do in a double overtime ridiculous thriller. He got hot. He stayed on the floor. He scored 45 actual buckets. That game was the game of the year so far in the association on Friday. It was wild. It's a good defensive unit in the Clippers they were facing there too, but he's just lineup filler as well. Kevin Huerter, hard to really find myself landing on anybody here. There's guys cheaper below this 4 or 5K range. If they show up in all lineup or two, if you're making 150, sounds great. But for the most part, pretty hard to get to on this slate, especially with Minnesota next.
So for me, Sabonis is going to play a large part on FanDuel power forward. Love that.
Yep.
De'Aaron Fox, a reasonable pivot away from Damian Lillard, but Lillard is probably, I heard Josh said this morning, he was looking at, through early runs, 90%. Lillard. I
have a crazy amount of Lillard. Yeah.
On that one. And then the rest, the rest of Sacramento is just kind of a roll the dice unless someone's hurt, with the exception of FanDuel, as we mentioned, where Chimezie Metu is $410. Yes, 410. 3 figures, not 4 or 5. 3. He will be in probably 90, if not 100% of my lineups.
Nice.
Let's talk a little Oklahoma City.
Yeah, this is fun.
So no SGA. That takes 50 fantasy points out of the mix. Obviously, Alexei Pokusevski is still out. He's missed like 25 games with his leg. Was it fracture or broken leg? I forget exactly what it was, but he is out. So we've got Sacramento marginal on defense, not as bad as they have been in the past, but it's still not a tremendous priority for them. Same thing with the Thunder. They're actually kind of middle of the pack. Of course, middle of the pack for defense on these guys is now allowing 116 points or so per 100 possessions. That would be unheard of even 3 or 4 years ago. Both these teams play pretty fast, so that's going to be helpful here. What do you think here? Josh Giddey, I believe you were touting conspiracy theories about Giddey and Şengün on Friday. Was that not you on Twitter?
No, it wasn't. It definitely wasn't from the Giddey side. Giddey just didn't really play well, but you played 24 minutes. And then I had the beat writer from Houston, from the Rockets, who quote tweeted me and said that, like, oh, did you know Alperen Şengün's never played? It was the most minutes he's ever played against Golden State. It's like, dude, I don't care. Context matters. 1, completely different role on the team. 2, no Jalen Green, no Kevin Porter Jr. 3, you're an idiot. So I did not enjoy any of that. But going to the OKC side, everything is intriguing here. Josh Giddey, top of the priority list, first guy you click in and cash, no matter what. Point guard, shooting guard, 7,300 on DraftKings. Fire it all up. And then Isaiah Joe, it's wild to me because he was announced starting and nobody played him. Everybody played Ty Washington. Nobody played Isaiah Joe the other night. I had like 38% or something. He was like 3 or 4% in pretty much every contest. Now we're looking at 53% for Isaiah Joe. He's still too cheap. He's still projecting out really well. You still click on him in cash, but he's probably the guy of the 3 guys pulling the most weight at OKC that I'm the most willing to get away from at this point. Lugens Dort is unfadable for me at 4,600 at small forward. I'm going to have a ton of him as well. You look at the boom bust tool, just the positionality of it comes out helping a lot, but Isaiah Joe, 3,900. I'm trying to find paths away from it because it is so negatively leveraged. In fact, the most negatively leveraged player on this slate, completely different circumstances than last Friday.
So the interesting thing with Giddey, with or without SGA, he still averages right around 1.2 fantasy points per game. I found that just a little bit surprising. I expected to see an uptick there, but you got to figure a little bit. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was going to say he already for the season. The other thing too is I think there's opportunity for a couple of minutes we haven't projected at 31, and he's still projecting out well because he's a 1.2 fantasy point per minute producer. He's going to be creating in this offense, and everything that we saw last slate. Again, I just saw that somebody said that he was running cardio. Yeah, that Phoenix spot was really, really frustrating. There's no doubt about it. But you're at home against Sacramento. Sacramento's about the nut matchup you could possibly run into in terms of pace, in terms of defensive rating. They're 26th in the association on dunks and threes in that department. They have the weakest strength of schedule out of any team adjusted for record of the entire season. So we're talking about a team that is not very good at defending the basketball. Like they are out there to score, and that's where Sabonis and Fox come in a lot of handy. But as far as it goes for the OKC side, those top three, you really can't go wrong with them. I'm trying to get away from Isaiah Joe. I think just getting a Naz Reid piece would be really, really nice. So we get that in there. 3,900, I could get away from it a little bit more and find other ways to go. But Gideon Dort, pretty impossible to get away from.
All right. Jalen Williams, the wing, is decent in this format as well. Jalen Williams with the Y, that would be the center. Yet another center option, but he is 3,400. You can play two centers on DraftKings. You can play two on Yahoo. I would really only play him on DraftKings. There are better $10 ballers on Yahoo and FanDuel. Yeah, we're not going to waste the center spot on him.
No.
How are you feeling about some of the wings? Dario Saric, Kenrich Williams. I guess I was busy trying to update the models here. Probably upload the new projections here. I didn't hear us say Lugens Dort. So wrap us up.
I did.
Wings
yeah, I said Dort. Oh yeah, I love Dort. Okay. I said there are three guys pulling a ton of ownership. You play Giddey, you play Dort. I'm trying to find ways away from Joe, and I think by getting a Naz Reid, that would be very helpful in that. Just so that you can then make that your salary saver and kind of spread out things other ways. I hope that news comes out as late as humanly possible because I'm building it into lineups as we speak already. But the other piece is I really, really like Kenrich Williams for tournaments, 3,800, sub 4K. If you're not going to play Joe and you're looking for somebody else to get to there, I mean, we are seeing pretty condensed wing minutes, 28 minutes last time out. Again, this is all no SGA in that spot against Utah. Kenrich Williams, 28 minutes for him there alongside SGA. I think that we're going to see more and more opportunity for him there as well. Don't even necessarily have to see him start. I know that they've done some different things in that starting lineup of late, but I think it's pretty locked into being identical to what we saw last time. Giddey, Isaiah Joe, Dort, Williams. But if Kenrich Williams is going to just be completely untouched, he's played 28 minutes off the bench the last two. That is pretty darn appealing on this slate. Feels like a piece that not a lot of people are going to go to. So I like that. Jalen Williams, the ALEN version, has been very, very good from a real life basketball perspective. We saw him, in 28 minutes be the guy that you wanted to have out of the grouping, but at 6,100, pretty difficult for me to land on him in any kind of a large allotment of lineups. And then Jalen Williams, the last guy, it's just a center issue. 3,400 is really, really cheap for him. He's been playing mid-20s minutes. That looks good. Everything looks good, but you're giving up Jokic. You're giving up, I guess Naz Reid does have power forward eligibility, which is nice. You're giving up Sabonis. You're giving up some really high upside options. So not going to be a priority, but he'll definitely show up in some lineups too.
Any groups that you would set here?
No, part of it is that you could just see, like, I don't think it's so diluted. Like Dario Saric plays very, very minimal minutes so far. He's played 14, 12, 12 in his 3 games so far with OKC. Robinson Earl is now back, but he's been playing right around 11, 10 minutes. They've gone to some lineups where they play Kenrich Williams there alongside some of the other guys at the 5, which is kind of a weird setup. You could probably do that against Sacramento, especially, if they're not going to bring off Metu. There's a lot of Trey Lyles lineups that Sacramento goes to as well for those 8-10 minutes. Won't all be Metu. I know we all want it to be Metu because of the price on FanDuel today, but for OKC, it's going to be making a lot more sense for them to kind of stick with Jalen Williams for a majority of those minutes at the center spot. 3,400. He's intriguing, but I don't see anybody outside of those main 6, the 3 guys pulling ownership and the 3 guys I just talked about, that you should be getting to anything. No Trey Mann, no, God forbid, Dario Saric.
All right. Anything else you want to bring out of this matchup?
It's a really good game, but I truly think Minnesota kind of has an opportunity to become the stone cold nuts, specifically just one piece that I'm highlighting there. And so anything that gets me away from having 100% Naz Reid will not be a thing.
All right. We have like 1,500 people watching, and we don't have 200 likes yet. Come on, let's rectify that situation. We should easily get up to 300. Avi Schreier with the super chat here, 1999. He says he had three lineups in the top 10 in the FanDuel $7.70 concept yesterday, including third place for 10K. Nice work there, Avi. You've been on a bit of a run there this NBA season. Let's see. Michael Pizzulli asking, how can we handle the Metu situation on DK or on FanDuel? We'll circle back to that when we get through the rest of these games here. I want to make sure we get in all of the analysis there, and then we should have time for some game theory, some discussions, potentially talking about maybe not groups, but how we could pivot away from certain players on Houston, which are rather popular and in a semi-nebulous situation that is very fluid, even though their two best players are out. We've separated the wheat from the chaff, and the chaff all kind of looks alike. So we'll have to see what happens on that one. But in the meantime, we're going to make a pit stop here. Minnesota at Golden State. Minnesota was 2.5 point underdogs. Let's see if that moved with the in-game down or in-day downgrade of Rudy Gobert, potential rumbly in his tumbly, I'm guessing here. So it looks like it's it's moved a 0.5 point here. I can all but assuredly say Rudy Gobert is going to sit, because you know why? Because I wrote him up as the over on 26.5 PRA.
Okay.
Today. That was just nuts. Way too low. We had him for 30.5. He has improved dramatically with Mike Conley back in the fold here. I need to get a cough drop. What would you like to do here?
I had my wife bring me some hot lemon water because I was just dying there for a second too. Welcome to the cold season, everybody. It's good stuff. But whenever you see these midday downgrades, it always makes you lean towards him being out. Now, it is Rudy Gobert, and that just kind of has me a little bit worried because we've seen him play through some stuff. We've also seen illnesses where guys have been ruled in here recently. I'm trying to think of the specific example within the last week that just was, I thought for sure he was sitting. He did not. But Rudy Gobert, I do not think plays basketball today. I think that's probably the sentiment most people have as well. Going into Golden State here, it just becomes 100% Naz Reid day. I don't see any way around it. If you shouldn't have to do that much. Like the Toronto Cleveland game isn't all that appealing anyway, outside of OG Anunoby, who I love. Sacramento, OKC, you definitely want to have those OKC pieces, but a lot of them are at the guard spots. Giddey, Joe, Dort at small forward. Should be pretty easy to just bake in 100% Naz Reid. And if he doesn't, like if you end up getting Rudy Gobert playing, I still find Naz Reid to be a good play then. Because I think they could end up going small against Golden State. I think there's more than likely an opportunity for him to get extended minutes there. And I know it hasn't worked out on a couple of slates for people, but we're talking about the 100% best play on the slate. Not even a question about it. I don't care about Metu. I don't care about anything else. Naz Reid is the best play on the slate. If Rudy Gobert sits, bar none, I will have 100%.
All righty. This next
Naz Reid already with 4 fouls. It hurts me how accurate that is. It truly, that was a good troll. I appreciate that.
That was solid. That was solid. Anthony Edwards looks like a phenomenal option today. Let's see, what are some of my keynotes? He was first-time All-Star. He's averaging 31.5 minutes or 31.5 points, 6.5 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 combined blocks and steals. That was in the 2 games on either side of the All-Star break. It seems like he's hit the next level here. The Golden State Warriors are allowing 117 points per 100 possessions while also playing at a top 10 pace. Minnesota playing at a top 3 pace over the last 10 games. So you have 103.1 possessions per 48 minutes. That gives this game a monster implied point total here. Since, as I sort of mentioned there, since Conley has joined here with Gobert. So we heard the rumors come out, and I don't follow Minnesota obviously as closely as you, but it did sound like D'Angelo Russell may have really cared about involving Rudy Gobert in the offense. So that could have been part of the reason he left, probably part of the reason that Mike Conley was the player that they went after here. So in the last 3 games, so Conley's played for 4 games, but just looking at the last 3, Gobert's averaging 11 field goal attempts, 18.3 points, 14.4 rebounds, 7 assists in just under 32 minutes. In the 29 games prior to that, he was averaging just 7 field goal attempts, 11 rebounds, and 1 assist in 29.4. Those 29.4 minutes, those 29 games are important. Those were without Karl Anthony Towns. So we're seeing 3 additional field goal attempts per game. That actually makes a difference with Gobert because he usually makes somewhere between 60 and 70% of his field goals because they're mostly dunks, lobs, and putbacks. So anything there is healthy. So that's why I wanted to call that out. That PRA number's been light the last couple games. I expect to see it start increasing. Obviously today with him not feeling well, that could be an issue, but just file that one away for the next couple times Minnesota plays. That's going to be something that you want to look towards. If we look at the other players, in addition to Anthony Edwards, who's my number 1 play on Yahoo, Conley would probably be next. Then maybe Kyle Anderson, who let us down. He couldn't get 12 points in that last game on Friday. The hell, Lindy? What the hell?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
I'm sad. I was following your recommendations. The betting Discord.
Well, I mean, Conley went nuts for it. So, I mean, I went 1 and 2. I'll live.
Well, I was going to say, you are pumping out not quite as many wager recommendations as Aton, who I think does one every 15 minutes. But
he's a crazy person. I love it.
The Discord it's been quite helpful. It's been a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to
we just cashed the single game parlay in the afternoon here. We've had I had the over of 2.5 rebounds for Patrick Beverley, over 6.5 for Gafford. Combine them together, Gafford at 9. Beverley had 3 in the first half. So cash that ticket. That was good stuff. But let's get back to this. I'm looking at the Minnesota side. I love Naz Reid. Absolutely love him, 100%. But there's also somebody who's a flat 3K that I think has to be considered. Luka Garza could possibly be a guy to show up. You could have Nathan Knight. You could have either one of those guys at a flat 3K be the dude. Just kind of be paying attention to that. But more than likely, just going to be 100% Naz Reid and mixing in some of that. Probably won't even make a group to isolate them because you have the power forward eligibility for Naz. And those guys are a flat 3K. So I probably don't need to say, oh, I need to only have them in lineups where I don't have Naz. I think the most likely scenario is that Naz gets in foul trouble and then you have an opportunity to get to one of those 2. But either way, not something you should be making in one lineup or even in probably a 20 max. But the rest of the Minnesota team just gets really interesting still. Kyle Anderson pulling ownership. Anthony Edwards, I think, is just an awesome electric play because of the eligibility. Every single slate makes sense again here. We got news just while we were talking there a second ago. Draymond Green's going to be out. I think that makes this game a lot more appealing. Obviously he's a decent enough defender and you are going to get some pieces like Kuminga on the other side of this one that are going to be more intriguing to get to as well. But just an overall awesome game for DFS purposes if you get Rudy Gobert ruled out.
All right. Shall we head on to Golden States now that we have
Mike Conley? I hate him. I love that he's on my basketball team and he might make Rudy Gobert a thing long-term here. But I will have a little bit. We've got him at 10% right now. I mean, it's going to be something around that. I hate it. I don't like it, but I'm definitely going to have a little bit today.
All right. So Draymond out, as you mentioned. Andrew Wiggins missing game. I think this is game 4 or 5 now with personal reasons. And Curry, I believe this is game 8 with his shoulder issue. That was important information to know until we got Draymond out because salaries have sort of normalized for these new roles, because even though it's only been a handful of games for Wiggins, it stretches back to pre All-Star break. So now that we have no Draymond Green, is there going to be a little lamb on the menu tonight?
Oh my God, look at that. It's just disgusting. Anytime I'm the second most cringe person on a panel, that's never ideal. Just saying. But Anthony Lamb definitely makes sense. I mean, it's the price tag, 3,100. Strict power forward eligibility, only 3 lineup spots. You can play him at DK. That might trim down what I'm looking at, but even playing low 20s minutes, I mean, he's only a 0.8 fantasy point per minute producer. it's just an intriguing piece to kind of add to the mix. But I think Jonathan Kuminga, assuming that he starts, he's started the last two, so I see no reason not to. I'm still going to go back to the well on it. I know the price tag has gone up from 4,100, 4,200, and now 4,400, but I still think that he's going to be a piece that you want to be getting to in this spot. He's close to a 0.9 fantasy point per minute producer, no Draymond Green, so I'm happy to be firing that up. I would like to see more opportunity for those minutes to trail up, but that Houston game got a little out of hand late. They probably didn't need to push him a whole lot there. That Lakers game got a little out of hand late too. I think Kuminga's still going to be closing, and he's going to have an opportunity to play 28 or 30 minutes in a closer game. So maybe that's a piece that gets undervalued, but I have a feeling when we update ownership, he's going to go way, way up.
Ty Jerome, anybody else, or are we grasping at straws considering we've got Portland, Minnesota value, Houston value, the Thunder, etc.?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, other pieces, I mean, Jordan Poole, we can always get to. I think that 8,500, we're starting to push it a little bit. Him and Klay Thompson, they both carry those ceilings, but we do have some really high projections in terms of Nikola Jokic, Damian Lillard. Those are two pieces that with how much value we have, and we could be getting more later with a free square in Naz Reid, I feel pretty confident in saying that just playing a ton of Lillard and Jokic makes the most sense and probably going to be what my builds naturally do. But mixing them in for sure, especially in lineups where you're looking to get away from one of those two, makes a lot of sense going to either Klay or Poole. Poole hasn't been as good. I know people have been frustrated rostering him. I've been frustrated rostering him the last couple. Had a ton of him on Friday. That was kind of the only thing that really sank my lineups. I just had way too much of him and Giddey, and that got to be a problem. But I'm going to have a little bit at 8,500. Ty Jerome, not for me. Jonathan Kuminga, though, for sure, assuming he starts. And then Anthony Lamb for 3,100, no matter what, you can mix him in. Curious to see what happens with Dante DiVincenzo as well, because now he's been starting the last three. That's kind of been a new update there. Played 35 minutes against Houston in that win. That's a lot of minutes. That's a lot of minutes to be looking at for DiVincenzo. If they're going to be pushing him that way, the tag did come down a little bit from 5,500 to 5,300. When I update everything, I'm assuming I'll get to a little bit there too.
All right. Does that put a cap on this game?
For sure.
All right. The lineup generator, 50% off on your first week, then $8.95 after that. It is a new tool that we are developing for DFS. It's been pretty good. We've seen some nice successes out there. It's got a $50,000 win and a couple 5-figure wins in addition to that. That would be Brajal. One of our users has put up some serious numbers there. Bijal. It's simple, it's fast, it's effective, doesn't require hours of research. Basically, you go in, pick your DFS site of choice, FanDuel or DraftKings, pick the main slate. Choose which type of build you would like to do. You can pick chalky, contrarian, balance, and it starts generating lineups for you. You can save the lineups you want, discard the ones you don't want. You can hold up to 20 in the save section, and once you're ready, you can download that into a CSV that you can then copy and paste into your templates and upload those onto DraftKings or FanDuel. Pretty slick. Very helpful, a lot of fun. That's going to be a good time in the NBA playoffs as well as when they start to get the single game contest. It was a lot of fun for the Super Bowl, but you guys can check that out. What it is doing is it was creating nothing but plus EV, so nothing but positive expected value lineups. You're not going to run into any dupes. Typically, like we could have 15 of us sitting there and hitting generate all at the same time, and it's very unlikely we'd ever have the same lineup. It's choosing from about, depending on the size of the slate, but a slate like tonight, there's probably about 10,000 lineups there in the pool that it is choosing from. So likelihood of duping is about the same as if you create lineups on your own. This is just a fun way to look at it. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. And especially if you don't want to get an optimizer, set all the rules, do all the different things yourselves, and then still not be entirely sure that you're getting a positive expected value lineup, just get the lineup generator. Give it a spin. The link in the YouTube description there below us will get you access to that. Again, it's half off for your first week. So you can try it out for just under $5. And then it's $8.95 a week after that. Eric, we're heading into
water on 18. Holy shit. Wow. Is Eric Cole going to win this golf tournament? Wow.
Team Eric? Should we be rooting for
Team Eric? I was going to say, we should have known. Should have known.
Houston, at Portland. Rockets double digit, essentially underdogs here. Kevin Porter Jr. is out. He's missed the last 18 games with the foot issue. Jalen Green is out. This will be the second game he has missed. He's dealing with a sore groin. On the other side, Nurkic is missing his 9th game with the calf injury, and then Archie Diacono is out with the back issue. You're going to get Jeremy Grant did not play on Thursday, which was the last day or the last time Portland had a chance to play. They had some trouble getting out of Portland with inclement weather, so they elected to rest Damian Lillard and Jeremy Grant the last time these guys took the court. So that means in the last 12 days, Lillard has won the 3-point contest and he's played in the All-Star game last Sunday. He's got to be pretty rested and fresh right now, don't you think?
You think so? I mean, he's in a lot of my lineups. I don't see any way around it. He's just a jam. 38-minute projection, throwing him in, that's going to put him north of 60, 1.4 fantasy points per minute. We've all seen him surge here too, but I think the big piece of news too is just Anthony Simons not being on the floor. He has all the opportunity and all the land to do everything for this basketball team. It's going to be pretty wild to watch him and Cam Reddish show up in a bunch of my lineups here. What could possibly go wrong rostering Cam Reddish today? But yeah, I mean, Portland's going to be an important piece. Anytime you're facing Houston, a little bit of Coors Field-esque for the NBA. So I feel pretty good about Dame Lillard here. Also, what do you think about the pitch clock? Have you been watching this in spring training? It's been wild lately.
I have not. I read a couple articles on it. I did see that some people were complaining that because it looks like in some of the stadiums, it's going to be in the line of sight when we're watching the game, and it's rather large. Makes sense that it's like that for the pitchers to see it as well.
Yes.
However, I suspect they may tweak that just a little bit for television viewing, but it seems interesting. It's one way to combat things. I'm meaning the time between pitches, the getting close to a minute to allow most of the lactic acid work out of muscles, etc., for pitchers to be able to perform at the highest of levels. If it's going to take a couple ticks off everybody's fastball, a couple ticks off of the clock, or add a few ticks to the clock here, get these games moving a little quicker, I'm all for it. Why not try it? I would rather do something like this than secretly screw around with the baseballs. I had more to say about that than I thought.
Yeah. Well, I don't have anything to say. 20 minutes later.
Hold my beer.
Jesus, dude. I was going to say, I feel like I just kind of wind you up and then you do the dancing monkey thing. It's beautiful.
The little symbols. Yes.
Little symbols. Indeed. All right. Back to basketball. But I just wanted to know because it's been brutal to watch. I haven't enjoyed it. And I do want to have the game speed up. I just don't know if this is the right way to do it. This is not enjoyable, but cool. Baseball coming soon. Houston, Portland, from the Houston side, starting with Şengün. What can you say? 24 minutes. The dude played 24 minutes against Golden State. There was no point. There's no point that he shouldn't have been playing 32 minutes in that game. Just missed the entire rotation. It was only like a 8 or a 10-point game until the very, very end of it. I was just watching, waiting for Şengün to get on the court, waiting for him to show up. Against Portland, they're still massive dogs. I'm apprehensive about these minutes for him going forward. I will say, I think if the game's competitive, which it doesn't project out to be, I think you have no choice but to have Şengün out there. But I want to roster him. I see sub 20% ownership, and it just makes me want to jam, but I can't do it. I'm just a little bit too nervous about everything else. That they are just not out there trying to win basketball games. It just is that Jayshawn Tate, Tari Eason, like those are the guys that you really want to be rostering a bunch of in this game. Ty Washington had a ton of ownership last game. We haven't projected under 20%. I would be a little bit surprised if he wasn't more popular than that. He played 34 minutes in that start. I think if you're not trying to win basketball games, why not play more Ty Washington? That makes sense. But point guard only on DraftKings. It's an interesting sell, just as far as like the construction goes, because center, you have Jokic, you have Lillard at the high upside options. And if you're going to be punting, Naz Reid showing up at point guard or at power forward would be nice. Isaiah Joe's going to be popular. Maybe I just get to more Ty Washington. Maybe that's my path off of Isaiah Joe.
All right. The thing we have to be careful here is Houston's they're not going to risk winning games.
No.
And I hate to say that, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I know.
So whereas, go ahead.
Yeah, well, it just sucks because you have Şengün and you see that he's just like a monster, an absolute monster with no Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green on the floor this season. And it's just so difficult for me to get to him. And he's only 7,800. I mean, we were paying nearly 9K for him, when you had only one of them out the other time. Like when we're talking about just KPJ that was out. So it's such a weird spot for me because I just want to play a lot of him and I feel like I can't. I'm like capping it.
Yeah. So Houston over their last 10 games, allowing 123 points per 100 possessions. The only team that's worse, Trailblazers, 125.7. Absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. These teams are averaging, well, per this math, they should combine for almost 250 points tonight. That's just, it's almost unfathomable at this point.
There's no defense that will be played. No defense will be spared in the name of offense in this game.
So it seems like things have kind of normalized from a popularity standpoint. To answer the second half of the question there for Larry C about rules or groups, we've seen the numbers come down. So Tari Eason is someone you don't really want to go overboard on, in my opinion. He, especially if the rest of the field is with him, he's down to 15% on FanDuel, so that's appropriate. Over on DraftKings, he's a little bit higher at 24%, but he's just small forward, power forward eligibility, and he's cheaper. He's 4,100. Jayshawn Tate does a little bit of everything. He can be semi-trusted. He's on about a third of lineups. I'd be okay with that. Ty Washington scares me. He could get yanked at any minute for Deshaun Nix or Josh Christopher with KPJ out. Those guys make me a little bit nervous. I think I'd prefer the front court and wings here.
See, I gotta say, so this is kind of my counterpoint to that. Like Ty Washington, I thought was overowned for the last slate. He ended up like 20-ish%. And I thought there was a lot of uncertainty there. But we saw 34 minutes and we still saw 23 minutes from Deshaun Nix. So like they did share the floor together a little bit. So I'm just saying I would have been nervous last Friday about what those minutes could be, but having that game stay pretty close for most of the fourth quarter. It got out of hand late there, but I think it's a pretty secure thing to be able to put Ty at 30 minutes. And you give me a guy who's 3,700 for 30 minutes on a terrible basketball team where there is an opportunity. He's only a 0.7 fantasy point per minute producer, but that is under completely different circumstances. That's usually going to be sharing the floor with a Kevin Porter Jr. or a Jalen Green. So you have to use a little bit of sense, obviously data-driven. Ty Washington, I just feel like when I project him out, he projects out for over 24 fantasy points for me at 3,700. That's going to pop him up in some lineups for me.
All righty. Jordan, if you're feeling charitable, you can, for just a second, you can throw up the FanDuel ownership on the screen. But I would remind everybody, we have so many ways we can get in at discounts here on Stokastic, and you can get that information on demand. You can just get basketball only subscriptions if you would like. If you go down into the link here into the description, you can see how you can win 30 days of Stokastic Premium with the Hall of Fame promotion. You can see how you can get a variety of 30 days at BetMGM if you come in through our link here and set up an account, make your first $10 bet. Reminder, there's a lot of ways you can get in to get this information on demand. It's key to do that. You don't want to be waiting around to see what happens here. Plus, we got an hour from the first game to the second game. Things are going to change dramatically in that one, and we're going to be off air, so you're not going to get to see updates. But if you had the subscription, you would be able to get in on that all the time. So I don't see any groups that we would need to set here. I would prefer not to have more than 3 Houston Rockets on my team. I probably would cap that. That's something I generally don't do. As I mentioned, I'm skipping the first game here. So I will be making my lineups in the half hour we have after the show here before the second wave of games come in. But that's just the way I'm approaching it. Any groups you'd want for the Houston side here?
No.
All right. Are we ready? Anything else you want to mention from Portland? We hit on Lillard.
So Houston to finish out Jabari Smith. Okay. I really like him at 5,800. I think that he's pretty underowned right now across everything that I'm looking at. So yeah, Jabari Smith, wanted to at least include him in the conversation. But then Cam Reddish, shooting guard, small forward, kind of the same utility that you're looking for. He's played 33 and 35 minutes now. There's no Josh Hart there. They basically just said, be gone, Josh Hart. And they picked up a guy in Cam Reddish who it hasn't worked for him in Atlanta, hasn't worked for him in New York. But now that he's getting some run, dare I say he's looked decent. He's not going to ever be a great defender, but he can go out and get you a bucket. And it seems as though Damian Lillard does not mind him there. So Cam Reddish still getting an opportunity. Oh, we're going to a playoff now. Cole and Kirk. That'll be fun. Cam Reddish, 4,100 shooting guard, small forward. That's a tough positionality for me to get away from. So I have a lot of him. Jeremy Grant, he's just fine to mix in. I am pretty much skipping the rest of this basketball team then. No Matisse Thybulle. Don't really need to go there. Drew Eubanks. Yeah, just not really feeling that.
All righty, let's hit on our last game. We've got 10 minutes until the slate locks. Again, these 5 games are spread out over 4 hours. I've got a couple super chats here. We'll hit on those. They're really not coming in with that first game, so we want to make sure we get the last game in here, and then we'll kind of talk about those. We can talk a little bit about Metu, etc. Bringing in our final game. It's back-to-back here for Denver. It's also a 3-4. They lost last night, 112-94. They pulled everybody. For the last 16 minutes, it was nothing but the bench. The last couple minutes in the game, it was Jack White and somebody, I didn't even know he was still on the roster. Somebody else got in for Denver.
From the White Stripes?
Yeah, it was the White Stripes. It was the dregs, the halftime entertainment, as well as wrapping up the last 2 minutes of the game. Zubac is out. Shed a little tear here for Eric Lindquist.
My God.
But we've got the Clippers coming off that double overtime game. We've heard them sort of say they want to give a semi-soft-ish minutes cap to Kawhi and in particular Paul George. Obviously, we saw that didn't happen in that double overtime game. Again, this is just sort of they've got an eye towards the playoffs, and they've got a whole bunch of players they're trying to work in. This makes the Clippers rather tricky to figure out what we want to do here unless somebody is ruled out. Starting with the Clippers, anybody that you want to highlight here?
Not really, other than Mason Plumlee a little bit. Paul George a little bit. Nice minutes cap, Ty Lue. Really, really helpful stuff. I had a ton, and then I had 0. He ended up playing 41 minutes. Didn't play the second overtime period. I was just like, if you're going to push him to 41 already, just go back on your word. Who cares? Just keep playing him. It was really weird to play 40 and say, oh, that's enough now. What interesting coaching from Ty Lue there. Russell Westbrook, 7,100. Maybe there's still a little bit there, but I'm not going to be firing that up in any way, shape, or form. I will say he played a lot more than I expected. 39 minutes was pretty much full go there till the end. What was it? He ended up fouling out, I know, later in that second overtime period, I believe. But Russell Westbrook, I can get to a little bit. But yeah, once again, the ownership is pretty clearly where it's supposed to be on these guys. Kawhi's fine if you want to get to a share or two. But in Denver, on the road here, not all that appealing, just lineup filler at the top.
All right. On the Denver side, Michael Porter, game time decision expected to play. Sore heel. Jamal Murray back-to-back, dealing with the recovering from his knee issue that cost him, or his catastrophic knee injury that cost him most of last year. He's expected to play tonight. You've got Aaron Gordon out, missing a 6th game with his rib issue. Nikola Jokic is awesome. That's about all we have here. Any highlights there? And I want to hit these super chats real quick.
Yeah, what in the world is going on with Aaron Gordon? This is, we're back to prime Orlando Aaron Gordon here of late. It's been a strange phenomenon, but I'm not going to be box score watching. He's not really showing up for me because he's out today. So I just wanted to highlight that. That was an interesting thing. But Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., just guys that can show up in a lineup or two. But Jokic is the clear-cut priority. Like, I have a ton of him. He's at a center position that isn't all that strong today. If you had played him on the early slate, I mean, you had Claxton, Capella, and everything here on that. If you played like an all-day slate, whatever. But like Nikola Jokic is the guy I project for the most fantasy points on the entire slate. He's just awesome. He's an awesome play. You should get to a ton.
All right. Corey Shea, for your super chat, this is on DK. Eric, 2 contrarian studs, 2 contrarian mid-range, and 2 contrarian value. I think you can throw out Sabonis there at just under 20%. I think he's intriguing. I think you could look to Jordan Poole at sub 7%. And what are you liking?
I guess Anthony Edwards is at 23% now, so maybe that doesn't quite fit the criteria. I will go. I love the Sabonis call, so I'm going to go Sabonis. I'll go Edwards too, because he's not 50% like Damian Lillard. And then Giddey's 51%. Just wild to hear some of those guys up there. They should be, though. They should be. I'm not saying they shouldn't. Sabonis, I like getting to a little bit of. And two contrarian cheap options. Sub 20%, Ty Washington. That's definitely somebody that I'm going to be getting to. And I will throw in Anthony Lamb as well.
I think Anthony Lamb is the correct call. If you want to hang around and see what happens there with the rest of Minnesota, we don't have Jalen Noel news, do we?
No. Minnesota
Alexander Walker. Nickeil Alexander Walker was getting a lot of love from. It was funny because they were trying to come up with a nickname, and they started. Obviously, they were going to call him Nah, but it was funny listening to the Minnesota broadcast.
Noel's out. Noel's out.
Okay, so Nickeil Alexander Walker, I think, is an intriguing option at 3,200.
Noel's out. Taurean Prince still questionable, which matters for the minutes of Kyle Anderson. So again, Kyle Anderson, somebody that I think would look really, really good if you don't have Taurean Prince in. So keep that in mind.
All right. So I think that's hitting on that one. And then the last question we have is again, we've got one game locking in 4 minutes. I'm not playing this one. Your mileage may vary, but we're going to talk about Metu in a second. But in the meantime, one other super chat here, Shikari is asking kind of who are the value plays. Didn't give a site, but it's going to be Isaiah Joe on DraftKings, Jalen Williams with the Y, because we can play 2 centers, Lou Dort and Naz Reid. Those are going to be your main ones. If you're over on the blue site on FanDuel, it's going to be a similar cast of characters. We'll get to Metu. He's $410. Play him. Kyle Anderson's going to get a little bit of a boost here with Noel out. And then I really I want to put Lillard in everything. I know it's not a value play, but a point per dollar play. He's the 3rd highest now on FanDuel.
That's unreal.
Metu, what is the appropriate amount? T McBee's in chat kind of saying looks like about 60-70% is the likelihood of him being in the optimal lineup. Someone was asking in chat, there's a difference between optimal and winning lineup. Yes, the optimal lineup means you have the highest scoring combination of players.
That's what I was explaining.
Did you already say that?
Because he said that they were talking about THT. He was in the optimal last night. I was like, no, he wasn't. He was in the winning lineup. Those are two very, very different things.
Gotcha. I'm a little behind here.
Oh, no, you're fine, baby. You're fine. Just easing the tension.
All right. What did you register for the blue site?
I did not. I ended up just playing DK. I'm a coward.
I'm going to play, I think, 85 to 90% of Metu. Okay. I'm not building my lineups like another hour, but we're going to stay on for another 30 minutes talking Sorare. So we'll pivot to them in just a moment here. Let's see if we had, I think that hits all of the super duper chats there. Yeah, the Metu question is I play a boatload. This is one of those rare moments that everything aligns. Just roll with it. And then, if it fails, then everyone's going to say, oh, you're such a fish. You're such an idiot. And if it smashes, everyone's like, well, it was so obvious. Everybody did it. Just, you know what? You do you. That's the key thing about DFS. You do you.
Whoa, hang on a sec. Why are my lineups not updating? This is bad. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. I'll just pivot out of anything in the early game if this doesn't update. But
all right, while you're peeking at that, I'm going to tee up a little Sorare here. So we're going to talk about this. So this is a new site that we have been doing some content for. So essentially, this is one of the Sorare games of combining NFT with an actual game that you can utilize your cards with. So essentially, this is a version of like Top Shot or some of the other NFT things that you've seen, but you actually get to use the cards and play a game with them, similar to Rainmakers, except the cards have continuing value because they are set up on the blockchain. So Sorare is an interesting thing. Eric's been playing on it. Jordan has been playing on it, and I am signing up for it because I want to dive in here. So I'm going to post some different links here. We've got a nice video from Neil Orfield on the YouTube channel that's explaining this concept. We've got a couple articles from Alex, and we do have projections as well. The interesting thing about this is they run 2 game periods a week. At least that's what they're doing for NBA right now, Monday through Thursday. and then Friday through Sunday. So you choose which players you're going to play amongst the cards you have. You can purchase cards. You can get free cards. There are, it looks like there's a couple ways to win some cards over there. So there are some limitations with who you get to play. So somebody's not splashing the pot like one Eric Lindquist, who probably comes in with all the purple rare cards that exist there. I believe that, is it purple? That's they're super rare. There's like 5 cards or something like that.
Yeah.
It's an interesting concept here.
Yeah. They've got some really cool. So the super rare, like the contenders, you're doing all of that stuff. You have to unlock it by getting to different levels, but then there's the red. Lots of really cool stuff. But yeah, the super rare contender, I'm not quite up there yet, my friend. Not quite up there.
Is that like Onyx?
It would be a little Onyx-ish. Oh, honestly, though, nobody knows that you were kind of making a dig at me, though. Kind of.
They didn't have to know until you mentioned it.
No, you knew what you were doing. You mean person. You meanie.
So I'm going to start dropping some links in chat. This first one here is the YouTube video from Neil Orfield. You guys can watch that. Don't watch it now, but remember, the So Rare contest doesn't lock till tomorrow with the game. That was a good one. I've watched that a couple times, so I can kind of start to get a feel for it. We have the projections. I think these are free, but if you go over to the projections page, what you'll see is there for the game period, you're looking at it. It's like, oh my God, there's all sorts of odd things going on. It shows which level of card the player is. It shows how many games there are. And then it shows, so obviously like Luka Doncic, a limited versus a rare versus an elite. Those are going to be different scoring features that you have there. But again, we have this built out for you. So this is one of those early adopter games that should be fun. You can collect a new card every day that's free, so you can get in here with not too much skin in the game. But in that Neil Orfield video, and I'll drop one other link here, there's a way of when you build out your first, or when you first join, you get 20 cards, and one of them you can pick. This next link here is the page sort of talking about the different things. And again, you guys can find all this on Stokastic if you just search So Rare. These are going to pop up for you, but I just wanted to drop them into the chat here, so it was a little easier for you guys to see what's going on. But if we look at the how to play, it breaks down some different things. That's actually at the bottom of the projections page. There's one other link here I want to drop in. The how to win article. That's what I thought I was linking. So this is the how to win So Rare. I should have been labeling those so you guys could find them, but that one's actually the most helpful. That was giving me a little more insight on the different levels, that there are limits on how you build out your team. And I'm kind of looking forward to this. It also tells you how many different card types there are. So common, unlimited, the unique of each player, there's just one. That's that black/purple tier.
Rudy Gobert ruled out. Torian Prince ruled out. Jalen Noel ruled out. It's going to be fun.
Nas, what I'm saying?
Yeah. Give me 100%. Here we go.
So 100% Nas, 100% Matthew, 100% Lillard.
And Kyle Anderson. I'm going to have a ton of, I don't want to do this Mike Conley thing, but I kind of have to a little bit. Anthony Edwards is awesome. Dare I say NAW is now in play for me as well. I don't know who else they're going to have out there. Like Torian Prince doesn't play minutes. I think a 3,200 NAW is very, very intriguing. For whatever reason, he played a lot of minutes last game, 24 there in the first cup of coffee here with my Timberwolves. Again, Torian Prince was on the floor for that one. So, I mean, it's like, Torian Prince wasn't on the floor for the last game is what I'm saying. So like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I mean, we're just going to play a lot of these fools. This is going to be wild. This gets very interesting. So I see chat was pointing out, sorry, I had DK. I'm playing on DK. I'm playing on FanDuel. The Metu question, I forgot. Naz Reid is power forward and center eligible on DraftKings. On FanDuel, he is center only. Yes.
Does this change the equation at all? He's 5,200. Does this tweak anything on?
I would want 100% Naz Reid. I would not want to play Metu over Reid. We're
Even
talking
with
about
the-
Reed is going to be projected for like 25 more fantasy points than Metu.
Okay.
I just updated it for
it's-
FanDuel for you. I want you to guess how many fantasy points I have Naz Reed projected for.
Well, it's a $4,600 savings.
I don't care.
We're going to still have
I don't
Met
care.
to around 12. I am going to say we had Reed at 23 pre Rudy
I have him at
Gobert
39 fantasy points on FanDuel. I have him at 37.5 on DK.
Reed put up 33 fantasy points in 18 minutes against Charlotte in his last game. In 35 minutes against Golden State, that was probably without Gobert. He was 10 for 22 from the field and had 13 rebounds on his way to 50. That's 5.
T McBee's going 100% Metu. Agree to disagree, my friend. Because Metu is going to come in way higher owned.
Okay. Don't now my parents are fighting. Now my parents are fighting.
T McBee only wins on FanDuel, so listen to him about FanDuel. I don't even play FanDuel really anymore. So I once in a while, I almost did it today. I almost did it. But I didn't pull the trigger. Again, I thought we were talking about it on the show. I said Metu 100% unless Naz Reed shows up, and now Naz Reed's there. I find it hard that I wouldn't want to get to all of him.
You did see that. T McBee, can you run your simulation giving Naz 45 fantasy points and see if that impacts the Metu results? By the way, this is the same T McBee who may or may not have fleeced me in a trade in the best dynasty baseball league of all time this weekend. I don't know. Wait, they've got to play it out. I could win. Maybe I'll be the one who wins it. I only traded the National League reigning Cy Young.
I will trade everything for Royce Lewis. Just give me Royce Lewis. Let's go.
All right.
Giddy up. And Kirilov. Let's go. My guys.
So T McBee during the NBA All-Star break dusted off his NASCAR model so he could play Daytona on the blue site. Netted just under $5,000.
It's pretty good.
And then he decided, you know what? He wanted to play one NHL slate. So he did. He won $10,000. Jesus. Ladies and gentlemen, T McBee.
Can he start running FanDuel? Then I'll go play there again. Also, how are the Lakers winning? I haven't looked at that basketball game because I'm watching this playoff play out, the Kirk and Cole playoff.
My filler arc super chat says, "Hey, sorry, just got here. What's with the Metu hype? This is this is FanDuel only. He's $410, 410. They sort of dropped a digit, so he's 3 figures instead of 4. So he's $3,100 lower than the actual minimum on the site. We're still projecting him for 12 or 13 points. He's going to play the minutes that Sabonis doesn't. It's a thought exercise at this point. He is not in play on any other site at all. Take him out of your player pool on every other site. What do we got here? All righty. So let's
go back to Sorare.
Sorare. Have you been playing on there?
I've been playing every single contest for a while now.
Okay, so as an early adopter, what mistakes can you help us as we get up to speed? Make sure we draw our free card every day. That's going to be important.
Yep. Draw your free card every single day. And then, just pay attention to what game type you're playing as well. When you're doing like the limited tip-off or something, you get your MVP. You can play anybody that you want, regardless of anything, and you can lock in the projection here. Pay attention to injury reports too. So Giannis is a card that I have a lot of. Like that is obviously a massive piece of news, and you can't possibly survive any contest where there's only 5 cards that you're going to be playing in and have Giannis be an MVP and expect anything good to happen if he sits for the next 2 games. So like, I'm more inclined to find ways to either, sell off the Giannis and get somebody who's healthy for that stretch. If you're just going to be getting the free cards and doing it that direction, or, acquire a Jokic, acquire somebody else, because that MVP card, it's just regardless of anything, you can just slot them in. It doesn't count against the score for your week there. So I play like the limited tip off. That's the one I'm looking at. There's a 120 point cap, but it's a 120 point cap for the 4 cards you play in addition to your MVP card. Your MVP card doesn't go against that. And I don't think a lot of people understand that from the get-go. So I'm able to play like a lineup with, as I'm looking at it now, I won't have Giannis in there because I don't know what his status will be for the next 2 days. But Giannis, like a De'Aaron Fox, I have Terry Rozier cards, I have Paul George. You got to make sure that you stay underneath that cap. It gets away pretty quickly, but really pay attention to some of the like the cheap guys you can get in, and pay attention to news as things change. Being able to react to new starting lineups and be able to acquire those cards the same way that everybody's shocked when it's like, oh my God, Justin Holiday's starting. Well, if he's a 6-point card and this were to be locked today or something, that would give you access to be able to play basically 4 studs in your lineups. I'm not saying that he's like fantastic by any means, but it's kind of like the Metu example where somebody like Justin Holiday is priced like he has an 8 attached to him, whereas like, 57 for Giannis, 42 for Paul George, 49 for Kawhi. It gives you access to all of the studs you would want in that lineup. So again, like it really, really can be fun to piece together in Stars and Scrubs it.
All right. So a couple other key things to know. These are digital trading cards. They are on the blockchain. So technically they are an NFT. You can use them in future seasons. There's some limits to what you can do with things like Rainmakers on DraftKings. They do have MLB, or they will have MLB when that starts. They have NBA, and they also have soccer. So this is something that they continue to build out here. And then they do real-time scoring, which of course always nice. Not all sites have real-time scoring. Not all sports have real-time scoring. Looking at you, XFL. You can trade cards. Have you traded cards with anyone? Like perhaps someone living in a high-rise apartment that overlooks a nice little boat harbor in LA.
In Chicago, you mean?
Chicago?
In Chicago? Are you talking about me?
I was talking Jordan Klein.
Oh, see, yeah, we don't talk about Jordan Klein like that. We don't compliment him on nice setups or things of that nature. No, I haven't done any tradings yet here, but you definitely should be doing some more of that. For me, it's more of like getting a handle on some of the limited tip off. I've been playing that pretty routinely. The limited contender, being able to access these other cards as rewards, like that's such a cool thing. You're going to jump in the rec league if you're going to be starting. That goes from, I believe it's February 27th to March 2nd. Gives you an opportunity to play multiple days, gives you a multiple day sweat. You can basically play any combination of cards you want, 120. I believe there's an MVP card that you can do for that one as well. So yeah, you're going to do a lot of trades to try to access certain players. Like right now, being able to trade a Giannis and try to get to somebody who is more available. If you're just starting off so you can play right from the get-go, not the worst thing, but you get to pick that stud you get in that first pack. So just don't take him to start off.
Yeah, and I see someone in chat rightfully saying, hey, these are going to be worthless and whatever. Yes, but unlike some of these other sites, you can get in and play these games for free. It takes a little while to build up a deck or to do it, but you can.
Yep. You can start off for free, legitimately. Yeah. It's just like, if you're playing, again, video games where you can upgrade the gear that you have, whether it's like guns in a Call of Duty or something of that, you can upgrade to the top tier and to the top games and get the top cards. And they are going for money. Like they're going for, again, it's on the blockchain. This is all just certified great stuff. This is not any kind of a gimmick. So they have the new card auctions that you can do. They have the starter packs that are just completely free to get in and try it. So if you sign up, you will see very, very quickly that, if you don't want to, you don't have to be investing, but it's pretty hard not to want to once you start playing some of these game types and upgrading your cards.
You know what's worthless? Not even next year, but after tonight, Chimezie Metu at $410.
Oh my God.
Right?
We're back to that.
Because you put it in and then it's gone. It's like an entry fee, right?
Yep.
Okay. Just what is the perspective for people? Here's a way you can try it out for free. Yep. Figure it's not going to be for everybody, but for those that like the puzzles, want to be an early adopter on something, this is a better way to do it than, in my opinion, than Rainmakers, which is probably the most comparable thing, because that was a pain in the ass. And even when you were bidding on stuff or playing in contests, the number of times I drew injured players was absurd.
Yep.
We don't have to worry about that here. Okay. Big difference. Big difference. So, did you know if you say it's not a gimmick, we get more money?
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's not, though. It's more of just like stone cold fact.
There we are. Any other highlights you want to mention there for Sorare?
Yeah, so it tips off tomorrow. You want to jump in basically, 4 p.m. Going to be the lock for tomorrow. make sure you take advantage of that. Jump in, limited tip off. That's going to be the one that you should be able to have access to pretty quickly. If you have to have like some limited cards for that, but pretty easy to jump in and find one of those on the marketplace. So I would definitely take a look at getting there. They have better rewards. You're looking at the pickup league, the rec league, both of those, if you just want to get your feet wet and get an idea for how the gameplays work. But basically averaging through the games, you can look at the schedules directly there as well. This is one of the longer scheduled groupings. We have 4 days of basketball that you can plan ahead for. It's really, really cool. So check it out. The pickup is going to give you guys a 1x common card no matter what. It's basically just like a free play to be able to jump in and get an idea of the gameplay. I do like the rec league because it at least gives you an opportunity to look at the prize pool you could get to that first place limited card. I believe the first 325 places all give you a limited card. So that would be really great stuff. You want to check that out.
All right. And if you come in through the link that is in below us here and sign up via our link, you will get a special deal after you do your first 5 card purchases. You will be able to pick another limited card. That's different than the joining, get 20 cards and you can pick one limited. This is another way to get a limited card. So just putting that out there. I see people saying, "Oh, who has time for a lot of things?" It's what interests you, right? Is it watching movies? Is it watching The Last of Us? Is it watching the neighbor's shower? I mean, I don't. Sorry, was that my out loud voice again? All right.
C for crazy, Eric, ERIC. Yeah. My God, dude. Shout out Chris Kirk. Takes the win.
So text.
What a
I
great
don't even
story.
have time for regular fantasies. Anyway, yes, very true. As I'm starting to get ready to draft way too many season-long baseball leagues, I'm having the same thought. But I am in the greatest baseball league of all time. Tino. There is no off season. Tino. It's pretty good. There's 3 different drafts for it, Lindquist. The Dynasty Keeper League. 2 different salary cap systems. The rules, 7 pages of rules. So rare sounds a little easier than this.
It is. It's a lot more fun.
Team Crazy. I see what you did there, Hippopotamus. I see what you did there. All right, we got 13 minutes to go. Any other burning news? Any other burning sensation?
I mean, for me, just updating the people, I have 100% Naz Reid. He's projected for 91% ownership. He won't get to 91%. That's a good feeling knowing that. You should have 100% of him, though. I just don't see a way around it. Barring injury and foul trouble. I mean, even if he gets in foul trouble, he's 3,700. I would be willing to pay. I mean, again, projected 37.5 that I have for him. That is basically 10x. I would be looking at paying like double his salary and still playing him in this spot against Golden State. So impossible to get away from that. Giddey, Lillard, all of the chalk looks pretty darn good. Isaiah Joe's the one piece of chalk I'm trying to find ways away from. Jonathan Kuminga, I think, is going to come in pretty highly owned too. I kind of had anticipated that ahead of time. I haven't projected just short of 29 fantasy points. Yeah, exact same projection basically here at Stokastic, 27.5. Looks lovely for Jonathan Kuminga there. We already got that Warriors starting lineup. He's in it. Dante DiVincenzo too. I said that shooting guard, small forward eligibility. He is vaulting up for me as well. Game with a 237 total with tons of news on both sides of it. Hard to not bring him along for the ride now. What an absolute incredible spot there. NAW I have tons of. It's just Minnesota Golden State. Just go to triple overtime. Do the Clippers Sacramento thing from Friday. That'd be great.
Nathan Knight, Luke Garza. Sounds like a couple members of a boy band. Just saying. Doesn't it?
Luka Garza season. I've tried to make Luka Garza a thing really when I shouldn't have multiple times this season, because if he does get run, he just is going to score buckets. I have a little bit. Once again, doesn't feel good. Doesn't feel right, but 3K, there's a lot of upside there if he gets 20 minutes. He's a 1.23 fantasy point per minute guy. What'd you do? Just nuclear? What?
No, so Toxic's been picking up all the little things I've been saying throughout the show. He put it all together. It's like a choose your own adventure story, perhaps, of what happened this weekend.
People are saying Nathan Knight season. I think not. Nathan Knight beats me. He beats me now. I'm pretty sure Luke is the guy that I want.
Let's see. Do you have any? What are we seeing for ownership in the first game?
Nobody is really owned at all. It was just 7-2 Toronto. Now it's 12-7 Cleveland. That escalated quickly. Siakam 5-2. Garland really the only guy that's starting off hot, 8-1. Nothing else there.
To the DK. Are you in the DK?
Eric, please explain why Kuminga is projected for 27 fantasy points. Well, pretty simple. The last couple games have been pretty wonky in terms of game script, and I don't know what to make of it other than Jonathan Kuminga is a 0.85 fantasy point per producer who should be playing around 30 minutes. That goes up a little bit in the absence of everybody there, and I believe he'll close out basketball games, even though 25, 24 minutes, neither of those were competitive spots. Lakers, Houston, 1 in a loss, 1 in a win. I think he plays 28 to 30 minutes in the event that this game is competitive in any way, shape, or form. It's Minnesota on the other side. That's awesome. Like, Jonathan Kuminga is a smash play.
All right. For those wondering, here is the early ownership. The next game doesn't tip off for another 39 minutes. This is the DK $15. You've got Jakob Poeltl at 16, Gary Trent at 9, Garland at 7, and Anunoby at 6.5, Mobley at 6. Nobody else above 5. Jared Allen technically 5.4, but that's really it. So not a lot of people coming from this game. What player are you terrified of not having well represented in your lineups?
Isaiah Joe right now. Again, this is a guy that I was 10x the field on last slate. And now I'm like almost full fading him at the moment. He's sub 4K. I think he's a good play, but I mean, look at the chalk. Naz Reid is unfadable. Josh Giddey, 7,300, I really like. Damian Lillard, Jokic. They're the two highest upside options. Like, I would probably say the next guy, I just have like nothing from the Clipper side, like nothing. I don't have a single share out of 80 lineups of anything from the Clipper. Oh, I have Kawhi Leonard in one. That's cool. That entire game, we just saw them at home score 180 or whatever it was in a loss against Sacramento the other night. It was like 176, 175. Not having that team on the other side of it is pretty terrifying. Otherwise, I've got a pretty good allocation of like the good plays. So Isaiah Joe and anybody from the Clippers going off would be bad for me.
All right. Still 1,100 watching, just 300 likes. Come on, give us a little Sunday favor. We stayed on an extra 30 minutes here talking Sorare as the sponsor of the show. We can get to 400. It'll be good. We are debuting a new show on the OddsShopper channel, 4:00 Monday. That's actually going to be Monday through Friday. It's the OddsShopper betting show that will be leading into the deeper dive and live before lock as we wind down the NBA regular season. I think there's 42 days left of the NBA regular season. Maybe it's 40 now. I've lost a little bit of track over the weekend. You've got baseball going in about 3 weeks here. So we're getting ready to fire things up. We're going to have some NBA playoff action. We're in the thick of it. And then you got hockey. Hockey's a lot of fun. I'm playing all these sports using these. Hockey. It's good times. We've got everything starting over tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. You're going to get Josh Engelman with The Process. We'll be raising our coffees. Mine will be iced, but I like to tune into him when I wake up in the morning and
I wish I could
get the work email saying, "Oh dear God, what do I have to deal with today?"
When we first got our puppy, I ended up watching that a lot because he would wake up at like 3, 4, and that's when it's on my time. So yeah, I haven't caught a lot of them. I wish I could because he does a fantastic job. And obviously I love the process of how to go about building out your own projections, how to go about like, if you want to learn how to put the car together, that is what you want to watch. Like, what's great about our site is that, we can basically give you the car. Like, we have the best projections, ownership projections, player projections in the industry, the NBA boom bust tool. All of that is fantastic, but it's also good to know what goes into it. You definitely feel, what's the right word? I feel lazier when I watch him build out everything that he does, because he spends he's so intricate and detailed with it. It's a really enjoyable watch. I suggest everybody tune in if you can.
Yeah, you'll learn a lot. It's a nice relaxed show. You can even listen to it, be it in the background, or you also will pick up on how to use, the NBA Wowie to, like add more funds, the on off, the what to look for in rotations, how to use game flow box scores, understanding different matchups. That's something we really started a lot with several years back when we started the strategy shows, and I learned more about the NBA and MLB with regards to that sort of thing than I even ever thought possible, just kind of learning about it. Yeah, it's not necessarily going to be applicable for that day slate, but what it does is it helps you read any slate that's out there. It helps you play the sub slates. And then when things pivot on a dime and we're not on air like they often do in the NBA after lock, you kind of know what to do. And that's something that's key. Remember when we used to do that late swap and sweat show?
Yes.
And I was always asking you guys questions and stuff. I don't ask you guys questions anymore for late swap. You guys have taught me well. I now know how to do it all, right? That's just from paying attention.
Well, I wouldn't respond anyway. I have no time for that nonsense. I have you end up.
You're too busy recording Lindy's leans likes.
Usually, if you guys only knew, if you only knew.
All right, so we've got 4 minutes to go. We got a super chat from longtime viewer James Magruder. He says he's looking for 3,600 or below on DK utility. He already has Walker.
Already has Walker. All right, 3,700 would have gotten you to tie. I would have been all right with that. Let me take a look at my.
That's good knowledge. He may have a tie that he could break elsewhere to get him that extra 100.
Yeah, just saying. Wanted to throw that out there. I would probably go Jalen Williams. I think he's probably got the most upside. I know Ty Jerome's projected a little bit more, but when you think about like what that ceiling looks like, Jalen Williams at a center spot, 0.9 fantasy point per minute guy, no SGA. Just play 26, 26, 27 minutes the last three. I feel exponentially more comfortable with that than I do with Ty Jerome.
All right. That hopefully gets the answer there for you.
I ended up actually on quite a bit. I ended up on 14% Jalen Williams. Nobody's playing him. He's like down to 5%. I think he's a pretty good tournament play.
Where'd you end up on Reddish?
A lot. I have a disgusting amount. I think it's going to come down a little bit. I just updated. I'm getting to tons of NAW. And now, so here's what happened. Cam Reddish was around 25% in our first run. He's down to just shy of 16%. And so what happened is that now I'm actually getting more Cam Reddish than I was before. I have 58%.
All right. The last thing I want to mention is the new Bet Pro. Price is going to be going to up soon, so you'll want to lock that in. You'll get the grandfathered rate. You can get a 7-day free trial for new users. That is in the description below us here. They're going to be talking about things like that on OddsShopper, as well as the OddsShopper product. That's a separate product from the Bet Pro. Bet Pro is utilizing the DFS models to compare against various player props throughout all of the sports wagering industries here, as well as Prize Picks, No House Advantage, etc. It's a lot of fun. It's a good way to see things at a nice glance, and I like it a lot now that I am a member at 4 different sports books. I branched out over the Super Bowl with all these offers. I'm constantly getting bonus bets or boosters or something at one of the sites. I can then go say, okay, what is the best wager at this site to utilize this booster? And that's very helpful, because I don't really like to make bets unless I'm going to get something like that to play in, because that's yet another thing you can be a nit about that will help you stay profitable. So that is key. So it's $7.90 or it's $29.95 per week. You get that 7 days free. It's $100 a month. For those of you that are wagering, I mean, even if your unit size of wagering is $5, it's worth it to get into something like this. If you're wagering, $100, $200 even just a week, this is something that saves you time. And time is of the essence these days, because there are so many offers and bonuses and things going on out there that's a great way to get in there and leverage what people are already doing. That's why I like the Discord with you and Aton and Matt Gajewski and Ben Raza and Lofty all putting out the wagers there for us. I can then look through them, see what I really want to do, but I know you guys have already done the time and looked at things. That's all I need. Just give me a good starting point. I don't want to spend a half hour trying to find that perfect wager. These are all tools that we have here at Stokastic for you, as well as OddsShopper, saving you time. That's the one thing we can't get more of, is time. So utilize it wisely. Final thoughts before we get on out of here.
Darius Garland, or close your laptop. Like we're breaching on that.
We're done, so I don't even need to set my lineups for the rest of the...
Dude has 22 in the first 8 minutes of that game. 10 minutes a game. It's at the 230 mark.
Over under 43 DraftKings points for the whole game.
Over now.
53?
Well, just break it down this way. Darius Garland, what would your projection be per quarter before the game started?
See, you were smart. You did the per quarter, because that way you could break out the time when he was
10.
on the bench.
So it's like, again, I'm very aware. It's like, the second quarter, he's going to sit for the first 6 minutes, you would assume, 7 minutes. So like maybe another 8 fantasy points, but then you have the entire second half. You have to factor in a potential blowout. I mean, they're up 11, but like, I would definitely take the over of 40. What did you say? 42?
43 and a half. I think it's
43 and a half.
But Chuck Deuces has the right answer. It's 88. we extrapolate on a linear line. It's 88.
You just multiply out what he has now. He's going to keep doing the exact same thing. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. All righty. It is 6:31. I'm going to go have some dinner. I made a very nice chicken salad here this afternoon. It's chilling in the fridge. I'm looking forward to having that. It's going to be good. But thank you to Eric Lindquist.
For the people to know. Thank you.
It's key. Well, I wanted Jordan to know there was no pizza. So there's no secret keyword with pizza here. But we want to say you can follow Eric on Twitter at Eric Lindquist. I am at EMac DFS. Of course, it is Stokastic_COM. Starting it all over again tomorrow, 6:30 on this very channel. You get Josh Engelman with The Process Show, and then a new show Monday through Friday, starting at 4 o'clock on the OddsShopper YouTube channel, Sports Wagering. It's going to be a lot of fun. Get in there. Just turn it on, ease into the deeper dive and live before lock. It's a good time here, right? This TV is much better than the rest of the fluff that you get on cable. With that, gamers, good luck.